class.
Hello, I am Brian Powell from Roseburg High School Robotics. I'm going to be explaining about encoders today, and so I'm going to set this program up just like we have in past programs, and we're going to just scroll past all of this. Super simple setup, and everything is exactly the same except we're going to set this set mode, which is going to set our whether or not we're tracking the encoders, or if we're running without the encoders, or if it's going to be like running to a certain position. And we're going to do that for just these wheels here. And this is our two-wheeled robot here. And all the way down to our while loop. And actually, we don't have a while loop this time because this is an autonomous program. So, in this program, I'm just using an if op mode is active, because I just want to run through this. It's just going to drive just really short, pause for a little bit of time, and it's done. So a really simple program. And I might add on to that a little more in the demonstration. But here's where all the math happens. And I made a function because when you're dealing with autonomous programs, you don't want to have a bunch of all this code happening over and over and over again inside your op mode is active area. That is left to be done once, and we can just call that and input our values here and receive the output we want in the function every single time in just one line of code. So I'm going to mostly deal with our function here for the rest of this tutorial. Basically, what we are doing with encoders is, well, we need to take a look at what exactly encoders are first before we jump in. And encoders are simple measuring devices that inside the motor, in the motors, that can measure how many rotations the motor has made. It's divided into multiple measurements units called clicks or ticks or something, and basically there's not 360 of them in one rotation, so that's just to be careful. You need to be careful about that. But there are a different amount of ticks per motor. So like a normal 60 motor or a 20 motor or 40 motor, they all have different amounts of those measurements. So you have to be aware of what motor you're working with. You also have to make sure that your hardware is done perfectly before you can even start programming, because what's going to happen is if the hardware is not done at all, the robot's not going to respond. And that is a frequent problem. Is what you see is encoders can be very difficult to program with, but the wiring of them has to be done carefully as well. So before starting, make sure that the encoders are set up properly. Generally, there's going to be, well, there's quite a few ticks in a rotation. So estimating it, there's some amount of ticks. It's more than 360. And what we're going to do is take this function and set our target position, which is going to be where we're going to. So in units, this one is just in some random like magic value that you enter in. It's not inches or feet or anything. It's just some random value, because of those ticks can be very difficult to measure exactly how far you're going. However, it is good for precision because it will repeat the same thing exactly the same each time. So we're going to set our target position by taking our input target position, which is an int, and here I have it set to 2000. And we're going to make sure that the int of power, because what we're going to be doing is target position is either going to be negative distance or positive distance. And we don't want the target position to be positive and be going backwards. For instance, if we're starting at 0 and we're going to the position 2000, then we don't want to have our power going negative, because we are never going to reach our destination. So that would not be a good thing to happen. As you can see, this is running low on battery. Fix that. And so, yep, simple things here. We have an op mode saying while these motors are still running to the target position, it's going to set their power to whatever we said the power was up here. Okay? And then when that is all done, they've reached their destination, we want to set them off. And also, if we're going to be running other things, we might want to set their mode to run with encoders, because that monitors their speed compared to that. So with that, we're going to show you a demonstration of this autonomous program, maybe with a little bit more added to it, but using encoders.